bravefathers.com.
Welcome to the Brave Fathers Show. And now, the prophecy.
How do you defeat a female narcissist? How do you win against a woman who's trying to destroy your life? And if you're going through family courts or having all kinds of drama in your life coming from a female narcissist, we are going to find answers in part 3, which is today, of this series. Now, bear with me. Let me just complete my setup here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for being part of the show. As usual, I'm excited to have you. This is John Paul. In case it's your first time tuning in. And we have a lot to talk about today because today is going to be one of the most important shows I've ever done. And I'm going to share some things that I've shared, but not as deeply as I am going to do today because a lot of the views I'm sharing with you are very counterintuitive. And here's the thing. While I have at one point fallen for a trap from female narcissists, more than once, the reason why I was able to dig myself out is because I understood certain things that most guys don't understand. And today I was interacting with people online, and a lot of fathers talk about not having a fight in them anymore. So if you feel you don't have the fight in you, this is important. Let me get my candles going. This is very important because you see, a lot of the things that you are going through, as unfortunate as they are and as sad as they are, you're not the first and you're not the last. Okay? So if you're fighting the first against a female narcissist, in fact, you're probably not even her first victim. You have probably realized that by now, or you are realizing it, or you will find out that there are other people. It's possible that when you started the relationship, you were defending her against other people, not knowing they were her previous victims. And now a new future victim may be fighting against you. So it's like a cycle that narcissists go through. And if you obviously have experience because you're here, you'll notice that a lot of the experience is cyclical because she'll have the period where she's really nice to you. She has a period where she's more aloof, more distant, and there's a discard period where you get discarded completely. And every day I see or read or speak to someone or just hear a story where all of a sudden she disappears, right? Or she locks you out, or she calls you police on you to get you kicked out, or something like that. And all these things affect your mental health. They hurt you, and then you may feel like you don't have the fight in you anymore. So towards the end of the show today, I'm gonna get really harsh with you because I'm on your side. But what people don't understand is that you cannot underestimate the narcissist's ability to hurt you. If you are if you're training for a boxing match and your trainer goes easy on you, you will lose your fight. Like the recent Andrew Tate fight, I think the trainers went easy on him because they were his friends, they were his associates. And because of that, he lost a fight that he could have won. He wasn't prepared, right? You need people who are not going to be nice to you, not people who are going to be bad to you, but they're just not going to be nice to you, like a trainer, like if you've trained sports and you had a good coach. There are times they are very harsh and very rough and very unrelenting and very unforgiving. One good example is the guy from the movie Drumline. If you've seen that movie, it's a really good movie, one of my favorites. I can't remember the teacher's name or the guy who was conducting orchestra or teaching the students, but he was very unrelenting. He had a standard, and nobody could go below it. And that's the kind of training you need to go against the narcissist. A lot of the things I'm saying to you, you will not like, and you shouldn't like them because they are not pleasant things. They are not nice things, but they are the things that will prepare you. Because if I don't say them to you, or if you ignore them when I say them to you, those are the very things that the narcissist is going to attack. The reason why your whole world swirls around, it goes crazy, is because the narcissist is attacking the parts that you are not comfortable with, things that you are not aware of. And when she met you and when you met her, she knew how to read you to tell you didn't have the fight in you. Little things, for example, she would say something like, oh, yeah, like that place you invited me to, I don't want to go there anymore. Let's go somewhere else. And you thought, oh, okay, gonna be nice. And then you went somewhere else. Or that time you asked her to do something and she didn't do it, or she ignored it and she lied to you that she forgot, or that she flaked on you and you still decided to see her again. Now, the pickup artists and a lot of red pill enthusiasts will say, female nature, you have to persist or whatever nonsense. But that's the kind of stuff that gets you trapped with a narcissist, because she realizes, okay, I can do some bullshit and he will still stick around. And a lot of guys, a lot of males wrongly think that all women will always flake on you. Surely you've had a woman who didn't flake on you. Surely you've had a woman who treated you nicely. Maybe you undervalued her yourself. So you can't expect to win against a narcissist if you want to hear nice stuff about yourself and for somebody to feel sorry for you. At some point, you can't even feel sorry for yourself. That's how you win. It's a tough situation. It's real life. This woman is trying to destroy your life. She wants you to fail. She wants you to go under. She wants to damage your reputation. And she wants you to look like you are the abuser. She wants to look like the victim. And she wants to look like the abuser. And she wants you to look like the abuser. And because she knows the society supports females, she will use that to her advantage. And that's what you're fighting against. So if I stand here and give you platitudes and tell you some nice stuff that will make you feel good, but then you fail, then you're in the wrong place. That's not what I want to do. I want to help you, because I've had to fight this, and I've won battles that people thought were impossible. Even lawyers have said to me that, wow, like they didn't expect me to get this or that or the other. And look, it's not easy. It's a thing that almost never stops, but you can mitigate a lot of the things and you can slow it down and you can transcend a lot of the things. But you have to fight. You have to fight. You have to find the fight in you. But also, you see, so let's go to one of the first points. You have to know what you're fighting. Guys make one big mistake in court, for example. They always try to fight every little allegation and every little accusation that's against them. You can't do that. You waste energy. If there's a schedule of allegations or a list of allegations, you focus on those. If you have to address the others, you do, but you focus on those ones. There are allegations that the court will say that, look, it does not affect the case. It does not affect whether or not you can see your children. So you have to know that as well. There are matters that for that specific hearing, under the application that's being made, under the motion that's being filed, they don't have jurisdiction for that specific issue at that time. So you don't worry about it. Some things are just there to mess with your head. So one of the most important things is to know what's important and what's not. And that's where working with a professional who's got your back is important. Because a good lawyer will help you with it. And one why people use my services is that lawyers don't always have the time or willingness to go as deep as you want them into your case because it just doesn't make sense for them financially. That's one thing. But secondly, they are not used to clients really demanding much of them. So they are not used to a client telling them, look, I need these 10 things, right? Because in their head is like, you're not paying me enough. So you need to educate yourself. There is my stuff, there is Father X and others on YouTube, excuse me, and others on YouTube who you need to talk to or look through their material, and that will help you. But you have to have the clarity on what is worth fighting for, what's not. Each court case has stages, has different phases. You have to know what phase you are in, because the narcissist will just create chaos, right? But there are certain times, situations where you can safely just ignore it, because then you can get to conserve your energy. And that's how you get to have more of the fight in you, because a lot of the weakness comes from dissipating your energy, thinking about it too much. Like at some point, you have to let go. You have to still have fun. You still have to enjoy your life, even though you're in a painful situation, because this is your life happening. And you have to strengthen yourself because you're still a father. You still have to be the strongest man in that child's life or those children's lives. So you can't afford to be miserable, even though you feel that way. And this is one of the things that people don't like when I say, but look, it's the reality. Yeah, you chose the wrong woman. Okay, you made a mistake. Now what? Are you going to let her just take away everything? Because one day the child will be older and people, oh, the child will know the truth. And so what? Knowing the truth will never replace your absence in that child's life. Knowing you were fighting actively, proactively, that's different. But just walking away like some people do, I don't support that. I understand. Listen, I get it. Like the court is a horrible place. It's horrible. When a woman takes you to court for child support, when she takes you to court for, to stop you from seeing your child, or you take her, or she just finds some bullshit and just drags you, it's horrible. And I've felt like giving up many times. So I know that feeling. You have to still keep going because that's you, that's who you are. You can't look for comfort here. You have to look for strength. Let me say that again. You can't look for comfort. You have to look for strength. You have to look for power. You have to look for ability. That's what you have to look for. There's no comfort. Because a female narcissist knows that you want to be comfortable. So she'll make you uncomfortable. But if you find your strength, she can't make you uncomfortable anymore because you'll be beyond her reach, beyond her influence. Now, when it comes to false allegations, there are two parts to it. One is the actual facts on the ground, which are important. But what's also important is how you are perceived in court. Because if the perception is that you are unstable emotionally, which you will appear if you get angry in court, then you struggle even if you have proof. Because what the court will perceive is that you are not stable and you are a risk to the child. You see, nobody says this to you, but it's true. Your perception makes a big difference, how you're perceived. Your impression, the impression you make on the court is very important. So you ultimately have to learn how to transcend whoever you've been before. And that applies to everybody. Like I'm learning how to do that too. And I'm sharing with you. We are all learning here. But I've realized if I want to maintain my position, if I want to keep winning, I have to transcend who I've been my whole life. There's no way I can go against the narcissist, a female narcissist in court and elsewhere, if I'm the same person she met. I have to be somebody she can't recognize, somebody she can't read, she can't understand. That's what you have to do. You have to become another level of yourself. You have to dig deeper, like Insanity. That's a great program, by the way. I have to get on it again because, you know, that's one thing I've slacked on, exercise. I need to exercise more. So I need to get back on track on that. And you may think, oh, it's nothing to do directly with her because it doesn't. But it affects who I am as a man because it's part of my character, it's part of my identity to stay in a decent shape. And if that's not you, then you become that. You don't have to become, the most ripped person in your city or anything like that. But just do better for yourself, for yourself. I spoke about this last time. If you have a passion, a hobby, or something you've neglected that is important to you, you have to work on it. As frustrating as this is, you have to find your peace in all this. You have to find it because that's what will give you the strength to fight. And that's what helps get rid of your weaknesses. That's what helps you overcome the weaknesses that the narcissist uses against you to pull you down and to just destroy your position. Right. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'll do a show. I'm not certain if I will do it, but there are certain things I want to touch about that go deeper into dating. Because a lot of guys don't realize that the way they date, they attract females with personality disorders, or they just attract disrespectful women. But it's not just the women who are wrong here, it is us who go about dating the wrong way. And narcissists hunt for that. So tomorrow, hopefully I'll get time to do the show. I'm not promising, but hopefully I will find that time. And I think I'll call the show How to Avoid Narcissists When Dating as a Man. Let me write that down. How to avoid female narcissists. How to avoid female narcissists when dating as a father. Or something like that. Now, so you have to strengthen what you've neglected about yourself. Because those are the first books that narcissist sinks her teeth into. Right? Those are the first weaknesses. So, for example, I mentioned this last time, the things that trigger you. You have to figure them out, resolve those issues so you don't get triggered. If there is something you really are afraid of, you're going to have to start finding a way to conquer those fears. You are going to have to do that. It's very difficult, but it is doable. The female narcissist hopes you decline, you degrade. So when you ascend, you drive her crazy because she can't stand to see you win. She can't stand to see you win. More importantly, your children must see you win. And listen, don't look at your present situation as you losing. That's life. That's what being a man is. We deal with the cards we've been dealt, right? Some of us didn't grow up in privileged backgrounds. Some of us did. Whatever we've had, we just do our best with that and we fight. We keep moving forward. We keep growing. It doesn't matter how low you think you've gone. It's not your definition. Your definition is what you do in that situation, right? It's like when you watch a movie, you don't judge the character by where they started. You judge them by who they've become at the end of the story, or who they've showed themselves to be. If they show qualities you can admire, you think that was a great character. If it's qualities you can't respect, then you don't like that character. You don't respect them much. So you have to be that hero in your own movie. You have to be that hero in your own movie. And you really have to get yourself together. Not just by complying to what your job expects from you, what your society expects from you, because that's surface level and that's what allowed the narcissist to get into your life. But looking deep inside yourself, you want to look deep inside yourself and see what you really want to do, who you are really, and don't stop till you get there. You have to make that decision. And sometimes it's painful because you realize a lot of the people and things that you thought would be with you through the journey will not be there. And some of the things your child, your children, your son, your daughter, or your sons and daughters, they may not get to see them. They may not see some of the cool things you've done. You still have to do them. That's the kind of fight you must have in you. And you have it in you. Don't let anybody fool you, not even yourself, that you don't have it. Mental health, it will get right when you focus. Yes, seek help and, get some ways to release your pressure and tension and all that. Of course, that's important. But ultimately, it's your focus that will get you where you want to go. And again, it's difficult, but that's what you must do. There are therapists who specialize in helping men. One person I think is very good is one Zach Fine. So Zach Fine is a British therapist who specializes in helping men, who understands the court process, who's dedicated to helping men. Zach Fine. So look him up on YouTube and see if he fits what you're trying to do. And actually, I believe, if I remember correctly, has a list of other therapists who understand. Is it him or somebody else he interviewed? But there's a list of therapists who understand these issues and they can help you. So this is not, your kumbaya, let's hold hands kind of therapy. It's the kind of therapy that actually understands your struggle as a man. And they will help you. They will help you to help yourself. So I highly recommend that you find somebody who actually understands these things. So what are some of the weapons? What are some of the weapons a female narcissist uses to trap you? Of course, we have sex. That's the first thing, right? We all like the pushy pushy. We like the pussy, right? So she's going to give it to you freely because she enjoys the sex and because she knows she can hook you in with that. A lot of guys fall under the illusion that that's a sign she really likes them. They think when a woman has sex, it means she likes you. It does not. And that's a painful realization. But it does not mean she likes you. It really does not. It doesn't mean she cares about you. It doesn't mean she loves you, as you are experiencing right now. She will use your fear. She will try to figure out what you're afraid of and see if she can trap you with that, if she can create circumstances that cause you to be in that state of fear. In fact, your state of fear is necessary for the narcissist to get the most out of you. Because a lot of the reasons why fathers don't find the fight in them is because the fear. It's the fear that stops them. And they worry too much, waste energy on that. Your guilt, of course, because you may think you did something wrong. You may think that you could have helped the narcissist, that could have changed the circumstances. And the truth is, you couldn't have. She was already going to do it, regardless of whether you were the victim or somebody else is the victim. If you speak to anybody who's been through a narcissistic experience, whether male or female, they will tell you very similar stories, because narcissists are very predictable with a lot of things. And that's another advantage for you. But you can't see those predictable traits until you start seeing your own fear and letting go of it and overcoming your fear. Another thing that she will attack is your overwhelm. When you feel overwhelmed by the process, so like you spoke at the beginning, you think you can't fight anymore, when you think this is beyond what you are willing to suffer, beyond the stress level you are willing to tolerate. Yeah, that's what she wants to do, to overpower you. But think of our brothers at war fronts who have bullets whizzing past them, who have rockets shot at them, mortars, all kinds of threats. How about that for stress? So my point is, this is a real fight for your life. So if you seek to sort of step away from it, and what I mean is, not putting in your best, then the narcissist wins, and that's what she's counting on. So we've already spoken about the fact that the female narcissist uses the system, that the female narcissist uses the system that supports female victimhood. Okay? So I want to speak my mind on some of that. And I think this is the time for me to clarify some of my positions on all these things. There are a lot of narcissistic people in our society. We are finding this out more and more in the mainstream narrative. We have the issues with the Epstein files right now, and a lot of is going to come out from that. There's a lot of secrecy, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of evil happening, and it's real. It's real. It hurts to realize that we have children in a world where there are people who hurt them just because. There are people who will take kids away from a family just to meet a target so they can get a bonus or so they can keep their job. There are people who will lie and cover up child abuse when it serves their needs. That's the world we live in. And my belief is that a lot of those people work in the family court system. A lot of those people work in the social services. They work in the police force. They work in the infrastructure that is meant to protect us. I would argue that there's a very high percentage of such people in those places, in schools, nurseries even. And whatever your views are politically, right? Surely you believe ultimately children should be protected. That's why you're protecting your children. And so if we have a corrupt system that allows this, that means our work as fathers is even more important. because we are the main defense. I believe that's why, or one of the reasons why, the society and the system has been fooled into removing fathers, because abusive people want to access the children. Let's just put it plainly, they're after the children. They're not even after the women. They're after the children. So, if this is true, and it is true, you have to understand that the female narcissist plays an integral role in that system, not necessarily on purpose or with awareness, but she plays that role because she is one of the best tools to separate a father from the children. We have the slang name Karen for a woman who, is just nosy, reports things she shouldn't report, tries to force her views on people, tries to enforce stupid laws and bylaws and stupid rules on people, harassing people. A lot of those women have personality disorders. A lot of them do. So that's how they act out to get attention. So what has that got to do with you and the situation you are facing? What has got to do with you is that you have been a victim of a programming and conditioning of the society. You have a certain loyalty to your community, to your society, to your country, but you don't yet know that that loyalty will never be reciprocated. Never. And in fact, even those who call yourself your brothers and friends and sisters and family will not reciprocate that loyalty. Now, I'm not saying this because I want you to be disloyal. No, 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 no. That's not my purpose. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that a lot of the ways you think about the world are not your ways of thinking of the world. They are the ways you have been conditioned to think about the world. And the hard way to find out about that is to go through family courts. That's one of the hardest ways, because you realize that everything you believed in, all the justice and all the other nonsense they told you from childhood, does not exist. But ultimately, the hardest part to do, the hardest hurdle in this, in overcoming the narcissist, is realizing and accepting that you chose her. On a subconscious level, you chose her, you sought her out. You thought all the wrong things you could see because you saw them, was commonly known as red flags. You saw them. You thought you could just, you could live with them. A lot of guys are willing to live through humiliation if they have consistent access to sex and if the female is attractive enough. How do we know? Just look at anybody talking about their divorce story. After all the disrespect, after all the humiliation, they still try to reconcile. Sometimes they use the children as the reason, but even without children, they'll still reconcile with that female if she was willing. So notice, it's not the person who is doing the affliction that is asking for forgiveness and is trying to come back. No, it's the afflicted that is asking the abuser, the afflictor, to stay, to come back. Think about that. So that's what I did, and that's what you did. Not only that, you thought that all the things that were defective about you, the narcissist was going to fix them for you. Now, I'm not saying those defects were real, and I'm not saying they were not, because I don't know you on that level. But what I do know is that you thought she was the answer to all your problems, that she's the best thing that ever happened to you. A lot of guys, and I see this being preached on X a lot, don't have experience with women. And that also matters, because I'm not saying you should become Don Juan or Casanova, but you can't expect to be your best, to attract the best woman, if you don't go out and meet women that you think are out of your league. You have to go out with them. And it matters because the female narcissist knows you have a certain standard that you set for yourself. That standard is not based on reality. It's based on what you've been conditioned to think about yourself. And it's that conditioning that the narcissist and the court system manipulates about you. That is the primary thing. And for some reason, guys don't want to let go of that. Carl Jung said something. I'm not sure if I mentioned it last time, but I'm paraphrasing. He said, and he was talking about the Western men. He said that to keep with their creed, they will avoid introspection. To keep with their creed, they will avoid introspection. So in order to comply with the rules of the society that they live in, they refuse to look at themselves to see who they really are, because they want to maintain the role they have. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I think I've used the example before of the Matrix. One of the guys wanted to go back and wanted to forget that he ever saw the Matrix, right? So it's the same thing here. You see, what I don't get is how can we be proud to be men when we just comply with the devaluing of our masculinity, or the attempt to devalue it, and then devaluing our manhood and just devaluing us as men? I don't get it. And female narcissists, I think one of the reasons why this system allows it is because they are very effective at doing that. If you feel dejected, humiliated, failed right now, then it's working. And it's working. But at the same time, I don't see why guys reject the idea that they had some kind of contribution to this. Oh, it's not my fault. I was raised by a single mother. I never had a father. Okay, so those were your circumstances that caused you to see the wrong way. Those were the things that pushed you in the wrong direction, but you still went in the wrong direction. And if you can see it now and you couldn't see it then accept it, admit it. It's not about assigning blame, because nobody cares whose fault it was. In 10 years' time, it will not matter whose fault it was. What will matter is what result you got, how you found yourself, and how you became stronger. Look, I have fucked up a lot. You know, they say fuck around and find out. I did fuck around and I found out. Now you are finding out by dealing with a female narcissist. But let's not turn this into a victim party. Let's not strive to be victims. Let's strive to be victors. Let's find victory. Let's win this. Let's win this. Look, it's hard, you know. When I think of some of the stories of what I went through when my whole thing started, like I've not shared everything with many people. Some of the things probably I'll just keep to myself because they're not necessary. But the thing that kept me going is knowing that I can't do better, just like you can do better. But you have to free yourself from that chain of oppression that's in your mind. It's a mental game. It's a mental game. And you will realize that a lot of people around you are just blind to reality because everybody is so comfortable, they don't see how harsh the world actually is. They think if their car breaks down, that's a bad thing. It's not. It's an inconvenience. They think if they can't go on a holiday, that that's a bad thing. It's not. Because most likely they need to stay and resolve issues that are outstanding. They don't need a break. They need to face things. There are people who think if they can't get a new designer bag or new jacket that's designer or something like that, that's a problem. It's not. There are guys who think that their wife leaving them is a problem. It's not. And even a woman taking half of your property is not a problem. It's actually not a problem. It seems like a problem because you haven't yet transcended mentally the situation you are in. And you've not transcended the person, the man you have been so far. But when you see it from a higher level, you realize that none of those things are problems. They're just things in life that you deal with. That's it. Because there are serious things happening, things, horrible things that people are going through, real horrible things. You know, there's a man called Dan Pena. If you've never looked him up, look him up, Dan Pena. And recently he's become quite nicer in the way he speaks to people. Perhaps he's just doing it because of the times. Perhaps he's tired because I think he's in his late 70s now, if I'm correct, or in his 70s. And he says a lot of very, very harsh things. And people pay him upwards of $25,000 to sit in a seminar with another 20, 30 people in a room for 4 or 5 days to learn from him. And a lot of people don't get why people go to him. But they go to him because he gives the reality as it is, not as how we want it to be, not how we like it, how we wish it to be, but as he sees it. And because many of us have not had that growing up, that's why we find ourselves in this situation. Because if you are caught in a situation with a female narcissist, that's because of how you were raised. That is because of how you think. Again, this is not blame, this is reality. Okay? If right now I say to you, go to a foreign country where you don't speak the language, and I say you don't understand it because you don't speak the language, you're not going to be offended by that because, yeah, it's obvious. It's society, it's accepted in the society not to know a language. But when I say you think the wrong way, you might get offended because you may think, who the fuck are you to tell me how to think? And I'm not telling you how to think. Well, I am actually, but I'm not telling you specific things that you should, conclusions that you should come to. I'm telling you how to think to arrive at the right conclusions. You have to step back, trace your steps, and see where you went wrong to find yourself in this situation. You have to do that. You have to accept that it is your low standards that got you there, because that's what happened. You have to accept that you settle for women who don't respect you. You have to settle that perhaps you wanted to impress your friends, or you were too lazy to go and get rejected 10 times again. Right? You didn't like that rejection. You didn't want to go out there and have to deal with women, and you say, and then people say, oh, women are just bad. No, they're not. They're just women. That's it. That's it. So the truth is, the narcissist is after your weaknesses. Like that's what it really is. That is the thing, your weaknesses. And you have to accept that you have them, and you have to look at what they are. There's no other way to go about this. Like, I look, all this bullshit, like, oh, you want to be vulnerable and all that nonsense. That is what weakens us as men. We don't need society to tell us to be vulnerable. And if you fall for it, then that's the kind of stuff that opens the door for abusive females. All that's nonsense, because men know how to deal with their emotions. If you allow those men to be men, and you don't need permission to be a man, you can just be one. But stop seeking comfort, stop seeking sympathy, stop seeking empathy, because your children are looking at you because you are their hero, even if it seems otherwise. You'll always be their dad, always, no matter which way they want to go, run, how much they may lie to themselves that they hate you. You're still their dad. You cannot let this desire to be right always, to pretend to be stronger than you are. You cannot let that defeat you. And all that happens through introspection. And that's what fathers fear the most. I would go as far as to say that a lot of the fathers who say they don't have a fight in them is because they don't want to show how weak they are. They blame the court, but they don't accept that it was actually, it was predetermined, because the narcissist was like, this guy doesn't fight. He's not a warrior. He's not a fighter. He's going to quit. I'm going to get pregnant, and then I'm going to get his money. And you probably wanted to impress her, so you were showing her all the things that you've got. Again, I've done that. Look, I've done it, right? So I'm not even going to act like I didn't do those mistakes. But you have to learn from them. You really have to learn from them. The society wants you weak, but being macho, pretending you don't have weaknesses, doesn't make you strong. It's just theater. I know men's weaknesses, right? Because luckily for me, I've had dealt with way more women than the average guy. Not that many compared to like the guys that I learned from and look up to when it comes to dating. But it's not just about the number, it's about how you go about it. I was very surprised that most guys have not even had like 10, 20, 30 women in their lives, or 50. Like a lot of people think like 50 is a lot, you know? I never thought that. So because of that, I've seen a lot of situations, right? Because sometimes you date women who have boyfriends or are in committed relationships, right? I'm not saying I'm proud of that I did that, but it gives you a perspective, and it also shows you how women treat different guys. It shows you how they treat different guys because they tell you or you see them. Like, this is not the time to reveal certain things about myself, but you see what they do. But you see, what I don't want you to do is to go about blaming women. What I want you to realize is that you don't have to be a victim. If somebody is bullying you, unfortunately, sometimes you have to just become stronger than the bully. Or maybe fortunately. You can't always count on people to help you. You can't always count on the society to protect you because they don't care. And the family courts and being attacked by a narcissist, they reveal to you what you're made of. I'm really pissed off because I had this conversation earlier today and people talking about my mental health. Look, I understand. Look, I get it. I'm not saying those things are not important, but it is a recent development to stress on those things rather than focusing on finding strength. Oh gosh. I don't know how to phrase this message in a way that people can get it, but I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna find a way to put this message in a way that you can get it on a deeper level and in a way that it's more palatable to the bigger audience so people can really understand that it's about focusing on the right things and also about being accountable to yourself. And it saddens me that men don't want to do that. They say, yeah, we should just hold women accountable. That is so disappointing. We want to find all the fault with the so-called modern woman, but we don't want to accept where we're going wrong. We don't want to accept that. And that's our downfall as men. So listen, if you want help, if you're struggling to deal with this stuff, reach out to me. Let's talk and let's see what I can do for you. I always offer a 1 hour free consultation, no obligation on your part, complimentary. Just like a lot of people helped me, because a lot of people did help me. I want to also help others. And it's whether it is figuring out how to get your mind in the right state, whether it's figuring out the right strategy to win, whether it's to find the right narrative, the right angle to fight the false allegations and to understand the narrative that's being told about you, to find weaknesses in your opponent's story, in their narrative, so that you can win. Because proof is not enough. You see, proof is not enough. How you present yourself is part of what's being assessed, even though it's never spoken, even if it's not written. So if you need that help, get in touch and let's see what we can do. And the reason why you should come to me is that I'm gonna tell you how I see it. Your life is at stake. Your children's lives are at stake. You cannot afford to live in illusions. You cannot afford to do things the same way you used to do them till now. Because if you could, you wouldn't be in this position. So you have to change something on a fundamental level, on the basic level, something that is probably very simple, so simple that you can't see it. But that's why we're here. That's why we learn from each other. It took me years to understand this knowledge. It took me hours and hours of getting help, spending time in court, helping other people, reading case law, reading the law, just participating in discussions, even traveling to places where people would tell their stories to understand what's going on. And I'm still doing that now. And I want to do more. I want us to change the system. But the way we change the system is by helping the few who want to help themselves. And that's the seed that will grow. Right? I don't want to change the system by fighting the system. I want us to find a way that it naturally is replaced. But that can only happen if we make the right moves. And it all starts with sorting yourself out first, sorting out your case, and helping you win. So you can find me at bravefathers.com or just DM me on social media, leave a comment, and get in touch. And that's how you're going to find your winning strategies. Like I said, we have a call. It's not a pitch call. It's not a pitch. It's hearing you out, making sure I understand you, and giving you the best recommendation I have got to help you win your family court case, right? So if you need that help, find me at bravefathers.com or just DM me on social media, and we take it from there. So the most important thing from today is that you have to really be willing to have a hard look at yourself. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful and the great, like everything. You have to go through that process. If there are unresolved things that you feel bad about, things you feel guilty about, things you're afraid of, things you're ashamed of, things you don't understand, you have to get a grip on them. You have to be honest with yourself. Nobody can read your mind, so don't worry about somebody overhearing your thoughts. But you have to be honest with yourself, so honest that it hurts. So honest that it hurts. All the grief in you, you have to grieve it. All the resentment, you have to resolve it. And that's how you're going to win. That is the hardest part. And in fact, that is the most important part. The forgiveness of yourself, forgiving other people, forgiving the narcissist, right? So forgiveness is not the same as vindication. You're not trying to vindicate the narcissist or absolve them of guilt or fault. No. You're forgiving them in the sense that you're letting go of the hurt you feel, the resentment you feel, the anger, the hate. You're letting go. So you don't care anymore whether the narcissist gets punished or not. Because that resentment still powers the narcissist. We talked about that earlier, but in case you forgot, Your resentment powers the narcissist. Your hatred, your anger gives her power. Anything you do, anything you do that is focused on her energy-wise gives her power. That's why you can't expose her just by talking about her. That will never work. And watch my previous video for more more effective ways of exposing the narcissist, right? But it's very counterintuitive because you would think you have to focus on studying the narcissist, what she's doing, how she's doing wrong, how she is hurting you, hurting your children. No, that's a smaller part of the equation. The real battle, the real fight is figuring out yourself where you are deficient, not permanently, but what I mean is you've not developed those parts of yourself. You know you could and you should, right? And it's different for me, it's different for you. Everybody's different on that note. And then looking at your actions, your behaviors, and sorting yourself out. Because again, as I've mentioned before, that's what creates the contrast between yourself and her. That's where people can see the difference. And when you reach a stage where you become actually indifferent, not that you tell yourself, oh, I don't give a shit, I don't give a fuck, like we are forcing it. No, no, no. When you actually don't, like, you really like, you like, the narcissist is irrelevant to you, even if you're in court. Because in court, you're really dealing with the judge and the system, right? At some point, it's out of your hand, it's out of her hands, it's out of your control. So she becomes irrelevant to you. You don't care what she did. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, she hurt me. So it's done. When you get to that level, that's when she really will struggle to get to you and to manipulate you. And that's when you start finding your way forward. So that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for watching once again. I really appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me. And I really hope that I'm helping to change your life somehow. Because this is the truth that I bring to you. The prophecy is that you're going to win. So remember, when in doubt, you are the truth. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm going to see you again soon. As I said, I might do a show tomorrow. No promises. Nonetheless, I'll see you again soon. All the best. This is John Paul from bravefathers.com. See you around.
BraveFathers.com.